Hello and welcome. This video provides an overview on how to prepare and submit an application for an FWO PhD fellowship. To prepare an FWO PhD fellowship application, you first need access to the FWO e-portal. You can reach the e-portal by visiting the FWO website. If you don't have an account, click on the Sign Up button and fill in all required information. Please make sure to register in time, as validating your registration can take up to 48 hours. Once logged in, you'll see the dashboard, which is the central hub for your application. From there you can access all sections, including personalia and researcher, which are essential for completing your fellowship application. Within the personalia section, it is essential to provide specific personal information. You need to enter your national registration number, as well as both your Belgian service address and your legal domicile address. In addition, details regarding your academic degrees and your current position must be included to ensure your profile is complete. If you are still completing your master's degree, provide information on the degree to be obtained and your expected graduation date. If applicable, you can upload results of your first master's year. Finally, this section allows you to list your publications. Panel members will receive your publication list as it was on the submission deadline. It is important to regularly review and update your details in the e-portal. Should any of your personal or professional circumstances change, you should promptly revise your information to ensure your application remains accurate and up to date. FWO distinguished between several publication types, as can be seen on this slide. Each publication needs to be labeled correctly. You can add publications to the e-portal either manually or by importing XML files. If your publications are already in a repository system at a Flemish university, you can export them in XML format and import them into the e-portal. Please note that only published or accepted publications qualify for registration, but if, for example, an important manuscript is under review, this can be mentioned in the narrative section of the application. After submitting your application, updates to the publication list won't be shared with the panel members, so mention any new work during your interview. Ensure your personal details are accurate and complete before starting a new application. Access is restricted if any of the required items are missing. After confirming your personal information, you can start a new application by selecting the Researcher tab, clicking on Application Forms and then on Create Application. Choose between a PhD Fellowship Fundamental Research or Strategic Basic Research and then click Save to continue. After creating an application, you need to complete each of the tabs presented on the right of this slide. In the General tab, you enter both the English and Dutch title of your proposal, as well as an abstract in both languages. You also have to select up to 5 scientific disciplines that best characterize the proposed research. The disciplines, together with the free text keywords, will be used to allocate your application to the best-fitting reviewers within the panel. If you are applying for a PhD Fellowship Strategic Basic Research, you will need to choose either Economic Finality, if the research will be mainly relevant to economic stakeholders such as companies, or Societal Finality, if the research will be mainly relevant to societal actors such as governments, NGOs, healthcare organizations, etc. In the Personal Data tab, you should explain how your academic study trajectory has prepared you for a PhD, both in general and for this specific project. Mention relevant grades and position your results with percentiles or other study results. Enter your master's degree results, including your overall percentage and rank or percentile within your study group. Also upload the official rank or percentile declaration. This document is mandatory and an essential part of your application. There is also an optional text field where you may qualitatively explain your performance compared to your peers or add extra context about your study results. If you interrupted your studies for 3 months or more, you can explain the gap in your CV with clear details, including the reason and start and end date, so reviewers can fairly assess your career stage. The section, Motivation and Competencies, is used to evaluate your potential as a PhD researcher, based on your motivation, scientific competencies, and scientific mindset. Briefly explain why you want to do an individual PhD, what your research interests are, and how your background prepares you for it. State which skills you already have developed, and which competencies you still need, and give a realistic plan to develop those through courses, internships, research stays, etc. List relevant activities, experiences, achievements, and any past or planned research stays. For planned stays, briefly explain the added value. If you already have an invitation or confirmation, mention it with details. You can also list prizes or awards, for example, Best Bachelor or Master Thesis. Particularly relevant for strategic basic research applications, but also for fundamental research applications. Mention networks, internships or research stays in industrial R&D or with societal actors. Provide us with the percentile or rank of your study results. Use the percentile score tables of the Flemish University in the e-portal application form. A so-called percentile form must be signed by the candidate as well as by the promoter and uploaded. For the relevant master, give us the study results as a global percentage. If you haven't obtained your master's degree yet, refer to your bachelor diploma. Advanced masters are not considered. If you have obtained your master diploma outside Flanders, please contact your university and give us as much as relevant information as possible. Use the narrative section to describe your study results and put them in context. Highlight any ways that made you stand out during your studies. Maybe you did a master's thesis that received good grades or even an award, or you got strong grades in certain courses relevant to the proposed research. Don't hesitate to mention those. Using the information you provided, the panel should understand how you compare to your peers. If you've done other studies, like an advanced master's, or some specific courses, be sure to include those too in this section of the application. If you're still in your final year of your master's, you can refer to the results from your first master year as well. In this slide, we try to clarify the use of percentiles in the application. Let's look at a few examples. Suppose Carol finished a master's degree in 2025 with a score of 72.08%. In a group of 89 students, this puts Carol at the 60th percentile, so in the top 40% of the group. Tess completed a master's in 2024 with a score of 74.93%. Out of 92 students, that's the 85th percentile, which means Tess is in the top 15%. And Shari, who's aiming for a master's in 2026, had a bachelor's result in 2022 of 78.65%. In a group of 158 students, that's the 95th percentile, so top 5% of the group. If your score doesn't exactly match a percentile value, look for the closest percentile that's lower than your results. If your score is exactly equal to one or more percentile values, use the lowest matching percentile. For example, if you scored 69% and that matches both P75 and P80, you'd use P75. Be careful with percentiles in small study groups. If there are fewer than 25 or 30 students, it's better to use aggregated data from several academic years or other available information to get a more reliable comparison. Next, you must enter details about your host institution and promoters. There are 3 types of host institutions: a main Flemish host institution, which is mandatory, additional Flemish or federal institutions, and other organizations. As an FWO PhD researcher, you must be affiliated with an eligible main Flemish host institution as well as your main promoter, who must be affiliated there too. Eligible institutions are Flemish universities, the Evangelical Protestant Faculty of Leuven, and the Faculty for Protestant Theology in Brussels. Select your main Flemish host institution from the pick list and name your main promoter. They will be invited by FWO to submit a recommendation letter. You can optionally add a co-promoter from the same institution. They will receive a notification by FWO, but cannot submit recommendation letters. If part of your research will take place at a Flemish or federal scientific institution, list that co-host and co-promoter under Additional Host Institution. If it's not in the list, choose Other and name the organization. FWO will consider whether this organization fulfills the requirements to act as a co-hosting institute. If you have a co-promoter from any other organization, list both the organization and the co-promoter under Other organizations. You can also list Flemish or federal organizations here if they are not shown in the Additional Institutions list. We move on to the Project tab. If your application entails a resubmission, please first elaborate on the improvements with respect to your previous application. Next, you must upload the project description. The project description should be structured following the template provided in the e-portal. The sequence of the different topics should be followed exactly as provided in the original template. Please follow the form requirements to avoid your application being ruled ineligible. This slide only pertains to strategic basic research applications. As part of the project description, you must elaborate on the envisaged economic or societal impact of your research project. Clearly describe how your research activities can generate this impact in the long term by using the structure provided in the template. If you have applied for or already receive other funding, you must mention this in the Other Funding section. Explain any overlap or complementarity, and how you will avoid double funding in case the parallel application is funded as well. Please, keep FWO informed of any outcomes. In the Project Positioning and Embedding section, you have to explain how your project fits within the research activities of the host institutions and groups. It is important to position the project in a national and international context. Mention planned research collaborations and, if relevant, larger projects, programs, or networks involved. FWO also evaluates responsible research and innovation. State if you consider gender and diversity in your research design, for example in the participant selection. Also mention whether you will work with societal actors beyond research partners. In the Science Communication section, you have to indicate how you will propose your research results with a non-expert audience. FWO encourages to disseminate the results widely and valorize them where possible. Next is the Peer Review tab, where you need to select one of the thematic panels, ranging over 5 scientific domains, or the specific interdisciplinary panel. You should first select a scientific domain in which your research is situated, and then select the appropriate panel in that domain that best fits your research project. The specific interdisciplinary panel covers interdisciplinary research that meets the functional definition of interdisciplinarity as adopted by this panel. Carefully read the scientific scope of the selected expert panel and motivate why your application fits the scope of this panel. Clearly substantiate that this panel has the most appropriate expertise to evaluate your proposal. Avoid an out-of-scope application at all costs and double-check your panel choice before submitting the proposal. The 3 last tabs consist of the Ethics, Data Management and Consent forms. The FWO Ethics Questionnaire lists questions about possible ethical aspects in research proposal. We expect you to complete the questions truthfully. For more information on each of the ethics issues and how to address them, check the FWO webpage on research ethics and the guidelines on the FWO's ethics checklist. The FWO has made data management a key element of its policy for all support channels provided by the FWO. We expect researchers to pay due attention to this dimension before, during, and for at least 5 years after their research. A data management plan needs to be added to the application form. The tab Consent can be divided into General Consent and Research Integrity. In general, in completing the application, you confirm that the information in the application is complete and correct. The FWO watches over the scientific integrity from the moment research funding is applied for until the execution of the research and the publication of the research results. Therefore, researchers benefiting from FWO support, as well as their host institutions, promoters, and other collaborators involved in FWO research, are required to adhere to scientific integrity at all times. Before concluding this video, we would like to clarify FWO's ethics procedure. When you're applying, we expect you to fill in the ethics checklist in the e-portal truthfully. If your research involves non-human primates, make sure to apply for ethical approval and submit that approval no later than 1 month before the panel session. When you're carrying out your project, don't start any ethically sensitive activities until you've received all the necessary approvals from the ethics committees or other relevant authorities. Remember, there may be other legal or institutional requirements you need to follow as well. If your project activities aren't ethically sensitive, you can start them at any time. If your research involves human embryos, fetuses, embryonic stem cells, or non-human primates, you must get ethical approval before starting any part of your project. For all other ethically sensitive activities, make sure you have approval before you begin those specific experiments. To monitor compliance, The FWO can conduct spot checks at any time during your project and up to 5 years after your project has ended. If you have questions or need support, contact the Ethics Committee at your host institution. You can also find more information on the Research Foundation Flanders website or check the manual for FWO's ethics checklist. After completing the application, click Submit. An automatic confirmation email will be sent to your email address containing your registration number. The email will also mention the panel you selected. Please check that you have chosen the correct one. After the deadline has passed, your application will be checked for eligibility. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We hope it helped guide you through the application form, and we wish you the best of luck with your application.